Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Podium Picks. Sean Woodland and Tommy Marquez inside the Whoop Studios. Excited about today's episode. We have a very special guest. We'll bring him in now. We actually have a couple guests. We'll bring in guest number one, our good friend John Wooley from Make Wods Great Again, the Scale and Bale podcast, and Kettlebells and Cocktails. He hosts that with our good friend Nikki Brazier. John, how you doing today, man?
I am good. How about you guys?
Doing fantastic. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I think you are my wife's favorite bald person. You think she's I think she likes you better than me.
Well, maybe. She's pretty cool. I like her too.
She's smart, so that's probably why. Okay, on today's draft, we're going to do a musicians draft, and we'll also have our Whoop podium later on in the show. And joining us also today, representing our production assistant crew, is Tino Novello. Tino, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be here.
You excited about this?
I am, as long as the drafting process is not as fishy. As,
wait, now hang on. What do you mean? What do you mean by fishy here? So we predetermined the draft order before we came on,
which is, I think that might have to go live again eventually.
Oh, okay. So you want to make sure there's no shenanigans.
Yes, because last week or previous podium picks, Mr. Tommy Marquez drafted himself as number one. And he's in charge of running the whole system, I believe, correct? Or
I mean, nepotism is the foundation with which so many institutions have been built upon.
I'm just saying it's a little fishy. A little fishy.
Well, okay. I could see Tommy's screen. So I will confirm.
Okay.
I could see that. So
I will take that feedback accordingly and note it, Tino, and promise not to use it against you in future drafts.
Okay, now I'm scared a little bit.
All right, here's what we got going today. As you all know, if you follow John on any of his Instagram channels, he's a big music fan. So he said, hey, let's do a music draft. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a 5-round draft where we have to draft our kind of dream band, if you will. So we're going to you have to get a singer, you have to get a guitar player, a bass player, a drummer, and then we have a miscellaneous spot. So this could be a DJ, a hype man, it could be a keyboard player, another singer, another guitar player, whatever you want to round out your 5-piece ensemble. So that's how this is all going to work. So you have to draft one of each. And like I said, we predetermined the draft order before we came on here. So John Wooley will go first. I will go second. Tommy is third. And Tino, you are fourth. So you'll get that. Both John and Tino get those wraparound picks. So with that, we will kick off our musicians draft. John Wooley, you are up, sir.
All right. I didn't ask before we started. Living or dead? We can do either.
It doesn't matter.
Anybody.
Doesn't
That is
matter.
a good question.
Yep.
Anyone doesn't matter. And you don't care where I start. Vocals, guitar, drums.
You can do whatever you want. Yep.
Oh yeah.
That's what that's the beauty of the draft.
Tough pulling in the first spot because I can really mess one of you guys up with my pick. But I know as a musician, I'm picking people you guys probably aren't going to pick. So there's no way I'm going to win this, but I'm going to be very happy with my band. So I'm going to start with guitar and piss off the whole world and guarantee I won't win right off the bat by taking who I believe is the greatest living guitar player today, John Mayer.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
He was on my board, actually.
Not on my board.
He was.
I don't have a board, to be honest with you.
I will actually defend your pick a little bit, Wooly, because I think he gets kind of a bad rap because of some of his like early music and like how it kind of played to a certain audience. But the more and more I talk with people who know guitar very, very well, they sing his praises and what he's able to do with the guitar and some of the unorthodox stuff that he does. Because of how he learned, I actually know how he learned guitar, which is kind of cool. And then just being able to whether it's John Mayer Trio, they have some great music, and then going around and being willing to play with a variety of different bands, touring with the Dead and doing all kinds of fun stuff. That I like anyone that is a little bit of a maverick and being able to do a lot of different stuff.
Well, even Clapton says that John Mayer is a master. Like that's a direct quote, that John Mayer is a master of the guitar. I saw him in Pittsburgh. I've been back in April. I want you to keep in mind, like I've seen some of the best guitar players on the planet play live, and it was a life-changing experience. This kid plays, it's like watching someone, the best of something, and it's effortless. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, it's not even thinking about it. Like whatever is in his head just rolls off his fingers. It was really brilliant. And his live sound was unlike anything I'd ever heard before. And keep in mind, I've seen everybody from Van Halen to the Police to Clapton to like, kind of all the big guitar players play live, and this guy's live sound, like I wanted to tear up. That's how good it was. It was amazing.
Wow. That's high
That's
praise.
cool.
And look, I think John brought up a strategy here. It's like our hands our fates are in the hands of the listeners and the viewers here.
Mm.
Do we play to the crowd, or do we draft the band that we're going to be the happiest with?
Yeah. Well, I kind of have
It's an interesting question.
yeah.
Because I feel like with John, I'm going to go, I don't know if I'm going to win this one. But I'm going to put together, I think, a damn good lineup, which now brings it to me. So John went guitar with John Mayer. He alluded somewhat to my pick that I'm going to pick for my guitar player. That is one Edward Van Halen.
Nice.
Growing up in the 80s, I was not a huge Van Halen fan. I knew of them. I remember when 1984 came out and how big of an album that was, and when Jump came out and how huge of a song that was, and everybody was listening to it. But if you've ever heard Eruption,
Yes,
that is one of the greatest guitar solos of all time. And the guy did some things that were not being done at the time. He was a true pioneer with the guitar. Again, not someone that I listened to a lot. I mean, I had some Van Halen albums. I wouldn't put them up as my one of my favorites, but Edward Van Halen was an unbelievable talent, and I think that he will fit in very well with what I'm trying to build here.
So you know why I didn't pick Van Halen?
Why is that?
And because I'm with you, I'm a monster Van Halen fan. Like, I love that guy because Van Halen always sounds like Van Halen. Whatever band you put him in becomes Van Halen. I'll give you an example. Beat It by Michael Jackson. Sounds like a Van Halen song.
Yeah, because you got the two-hand
It's
tapping
his solo. It's him playing the solo.
That's
and every
true.
time you hear it, you're like, Van Halen. Like, you don't even have to know it's him to know it's him.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I love that sound. I mean, it's just
yeah.
it is iconic.
No arguments. I love him. Like,
All right. So who's up next? Tino.
Yes. So
No, wait, Tommy's
it's
up
me.
next. Tommy's up
Ooh.
next. Sorry.
Ooh,
Shenanigans
yeah, I
already.
know,
Tina,
yeah,
I'm
what's
sorry.
going on?
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to help you out.
Interesting. Everyone's going guitar. I don't know if my guitarist will get taken. This is tough because I'm gonna take my my X Factor.
Oh,
Because I think there's one guy,
miscellaneous. Okay.
I think there's a miscellaneous guy that I think overall will be additive to whatever band I put together and whatever genre I put together. This person can play the drums, play guitar, can sing, can produce, has been the drummer for, I mean, arguably the most popular grunge band in the 90s.
Oh,
He's the
wow.
front man for my favorite band.
All right.
And he is also a member of a metal band, and that is Dave Grohl.
I knew that's what.
Miscellaneous.
So-
Yeah, I'm not shocked that you took someone.
I'm gonna take Dave Grohl because I think he is. If you look at, it's interesting because nowadays I feel like, and maybe it's just me not being tapped into it. I guess in the zeitgeist, like being like the rock and roll front man isn't quite what it used to be.
Nope.
Maybe
I would agree with that.
I think Dave Grohl is one of the few torchbearers of that. Still, he is one of those guys that's not afraid to be out in the media, say things, represent rock and roll, represent like musicians, and his quote about like how people should learn to play
Yes,
is one of my
the
favorites
best.
of all
Yep.
time. Basically, like you're supposed to get together with your friends, you're supposed to suck,
Mhm.
and you're supposed to keep playing and keep sucking, and then one of these days it's going to turn, and you might end up playing with Nirvana and being
Yep.
the Foo Fighters. And it's just like that like his approach to music, and I've seen them a ton of times, and he is a performer through and through, and I can tell he just loves to play. And there's no greater example of that than we saw him on Foo Fighters on tour right after he broke his leg on stage. Didn't stop the tour. Very next day, they had a chair set up, and he was out there playing the full show. I mean, I'll say he is one of the few musicians that has changed my life for the better. So I will take him.
All right. It's up to Tino now. You're up.
Cool.
Then you get wraparound picks. So
Yes,
you get
yes.
end of first and beginning of second.
So I'm drafting my musicians with the intent to create the best like R&B dance
Okay.
disco type album
Ooh.
that I know I would personally love to listen to. And I think in all of that, you need a very strong singer to carry a lot of this. So my first pick is going to be Frank Ocean on vocals.
Ooh.
I think he has such a versatile voice that he will be able to work with any sort of style, be it the slow R&B type stuff, which he is of course very known for. And if you want to do some like dance stuff, he'll be able to figure out a way to incorporate his vocals into that. He's just really talented, and I think would be the perfect person to lead this band for.
Okay, I have a question. I don't know who Frank Ocean is.
Ooh, okay.
Does that make me old and out of touch?
A
Yes.
little.
Okay.
Very.
It just means that you will have you are one of the few lucky people who will be able to experience like Channel Orange or Blonde for the very first time.
Mhm.
Those are his, and unfortunately he's notorious for not dropping music a lot of the time. So there will be huge gaps between album releases. So that's something I'm also keeping in mind for future draft picks.
His first album, Channel Orange, was nominated for Album of the Year for the Grammy. Won the best urban contemporary album. He is, very talented, very, very good voice. If you're going that direction, I like that pick, because that is definitely is that he's zigging when everyone else is zagging here.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is going to be a fun generational battle here. I look forward to your first pick of the second round now, Tino.
Of course. Let's see. I have it on my notes here. We are going to go with the guitar pick next, and I think that's going to be a key part in sort of creating not only a part of the instrumental layer that will be able to be backing to all the vocals, but also be able to take a front row seat. And I think the person who will match the vibe of this group is Curtis Mayfield. I think he is of course, he also has vocal talent, which we all know of. So if Frank decides to go on hiatus for as many years as he wants to, we'll have him in the band, and his chord changes are so distinct and whatever that it'll bring such a good flair almost to this group.
All right.
I don't know who that guy is either.
This one is actually
should I know this one?
Yeah, you should. Yeah. He's a very popular
That's why I don't know him.
R&B, funk, soul.
I've heard the name.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Superfly.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, good job, Tino. Now we're back to Tommy.
Ooh, Tino's taking a very different very different approach, but I like it because you're going to corner a market here.
Yeah, and I think that's why that's why I wanted to go 2, because I want to see how this thing started to unfold a little bit.
Ooh. I thought I got great value for Dave because he can be a guitarist, so he can do a little of everything as your X factor. I'm debating going bassist or another guitarist.
So are you trying? Here's my question. Tino's going R&B. Do you think are you trying to do you have a type of music in style, in mind when you're drafting your band? I think I might just go best player available. It's
not a bad way to go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to make the best sound or I want to just take the best player available. And that's what's really tough here. And there's also a pick where I kind of just want to play defense.
Well, at the end of the day, it's since it's music, it's very subjective. So what you might think is the best player,
that's right,
you might not.
There
we go.
I'm having a hard time on this one.
I can tell.
I'm going to play defense on Sean, and I'm going to take Cliff Burton.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So, I think
I'm not talking to you ever again.
I think I did. This one was going to hurt you. I think, I think for a recognizable subsection of this draft is probably the one where you're going to have to pull some people out that everyone's like, huh? And then they look up and they go Google it and they're like, oh, okay. Well, Cliff Burton was the bassist for Metallica. He was on Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets. Unfortunately, he died in September of '86, like 4 months after 6 months after I was born at the age of 24. But member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame posthumously. Everyone, it's I think it's telling when everyone like has nostalgia for him as the basis for Metallica, even though Robert Trujillo's been it for.
He's been there the longest.
The longest.
There the longest.
And also I know that this would have probably been Sean's pick.
It was up there.
Yeah. And I think about some of my favorite songs from Metallica and the songs that I grew up with my dad. And those were all songs that Cliff played on. So I think he will mix well with Dave. And I imagine if you asked Dave Grohl, like who's a bassist he would have loved to play with, Cliff Burton would have been one of them. So
that's nice.
We're talking about like cohesion within the group too.
Anesthesia, bass, pulling teeth, bass solo, take one. Go listen to that off Kill 'Em All and hear the sound that guy had. I've actually been going back and learning a lot of old Metallica songs now.
That's really
and I have that guy could play. There's a lot of stuff I'm like, how did you pull that off? So anyway, that's a great pick. That is a really, really good pick. Okay, so now it's to me. Well, now I can wait on my bass player. So sorry, I had Tino up there for a second. I'm just staring at Tino. Okay, I can wait on that now because I know who I'm gonna take there, I think. So I gotta go drummer. And this is another one where I think I'm just going to take the best player available. I'm going to go with one Neil Peart from Rush.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, I'm going Neil Peart again. This is another band that I did not listen to a ton growing up. I was very much aware of them. I had one of my best friends growing up, guy I still know, another bald dude, by the way, Dan Baxter, shout out. Huge Rush fan. And, Neil Peart had another sound like Eddie Van Halen that was just iconic, and the way that I think that Rush sort of revolutionized kind of prog rock and some of the stuff they did. And so far, I picked two dead guys too.
Yeah, I mean Neil died 2020, so
yeah,
it was
pretty recently.
Yeah.
So, but Neil Peart, you ask any drummer, and I think this is someone who he's just up there, regardless of whatever genre of music you listen to, you put him in. No question on your Mount Rushmore.
It's interesting. I you could hear little bits of like the people that he cites as his inspiration. I won't tip picks on the other drummers, but you can hear little pieces of it. And then at times he would kind of like go his own way. More recently, like experimenting with like electronic percussion and other elements like that. To me, that's why he would have been my pick, because he wasn't afraid to break that like rock opera type mold and start going other areas and experimenting with more new age percussion stuff that I thought would have made a really cool sound with some of the newer artists that were here. But
all right, that brings us to the end of round 2 and the beginning of round 3. So John, you have back-to-back picks. We can make a trade, Tommy.
We haven't had a trade.
Not had a trade.
I can't. Every time I hear Neil Peart, I think of this Family Guy bit when they're like they make a joke about like the Chester Cheetah, and it shows him like in his living room like mashing up Cheetos and consuming them as if it was contraband, and Rush is playing in the background, and he just goes, "God dang it, Neil Peart was the best drummer of all time," and he like smashes his hand through the glass and goes, "It ain't easy being cheesy." I just think of Neil Peart every time I hear that.
All right, John, you're up. You get back to back here.
All right. So I'll tell you my philosophy. So the reason why I picked John Mayer before is because he's crazy versatile, right? He can play with anyone. He can write his own stuff. He can sing, but he's a master of his instrument. When I was looking at the other positions, I was looking for people that could do similar things, could play multiple instruments, can play multiple genres, and then would blend well together. I narrowed my vocalists down to 4 and then down to 2. The one I wanted to go with that I'm not going with is Jeff Buckley, who I think is one of the greatest vocalists that ever lived.
I don't listen, man. I am so out of touch with today's music.
Well, this isn't today's music. Jeff Buckley died back in '95. He released one album. You've heard the song Hallelujah.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. Right. Beautiful singer, but I figured 99.9% of the people listening would be like, Jeff who? Right?
Exactly, like me.
So my pick, which I think is possibly going to screw Tommy's band, is who I think is one of the greatest vocalists that ever lived, Chris Cornell.
Damn it! Oh, I literally have my cursor over Chris Cornell.
This is getting cutthroat now.
I opened up a floodgate for
Yeah, you
everyone
did.
just stealing my picks.
Like
Oh,
I think when Chris Cornell died, I must have cried for an hour. I love that dude. He was so inspirational. Not only was Soundgarden just like one of the greatest bands ever, but his solo work, his acoustic work, stuff he did for movies. You know, he was working with other artists on the side, producing. He could play. He was a great guitar player. People didn't really realize how good a guitar player was, and he wrote most of those songs for Soundgarden. Like the guy's an amazing songwriter. And then you would hear his covers. You know, you do these crazy obscure covers like "Nothing Compares to You," you know, by Sinead O'Connor and Prince, and you know, just ridiculous vocal range. He was the greatest. I love that guy. So
I'm
I
happy.
kind of figured. I figured you were going there when you picked Cliff Burton and Dave Grohl. That's like the natural progression. Let's put Cornell in that band. So sorry about that.
That kills me too. Like I've been a huge fan of like basically every project that he's been on. You know, Temple of the Dog and Audio Slave. Actually, one of my like low key favorite songs. "I'm the Highway" on Audio Slave's first album. Yeah. To me, the vocals and just the emotion that he puts into that track is just, it's harrowing for me. And it's like, is such a freeing song almost, basically. Like it may not be like the most depth filled song in terms of lyrics, but like it's one of those songs, if you're like, I just need to like be me and break out of whatever funk I'm in, that's like the song you throw on and you feel better.
Yeah. All right, John, you get one more pick to kick off now round 3.
All right, so I'm going to go to drums. I originally had Dave Grohl in this spot, I might add.
Oh, wow.
Who I think is one of the greatest drummers I've ever loved. And I also had Taylor Hawkins on that list, but he didn't make the cut. Rest in peace, Taylor. Again, heartbroken. So I wanted to go with versatility, someone who was essentially a session player, but has played some of the biggest venues on the planet with some of the biggest bands. I went with Stuart Copeland from the Police.
Oh, well done. Yes, I was a huge Police fan when I was a kid.
Yeah, that dude's unreal. And you know, he's essentially been a session player for the last, 20 years or so. So can literally play anything. But you spend decades on the road with Sting, you can play.
You have some musical chops.
Yes, for sure.
All right, Stuart Copeland. Yeah, man, I had the old, remember that their album Synchronicity.
Oh yeah.
I had a black jacket that I loved. It just on the just a black jacket, and I think it said the Police on the front, and then on the back it had the the yellow, blue, and red stripes with the Synchronicity logo. Loved that jacket as a kid.
Best.
9 years old, just rocking that thing. All right, up to me now. So I know Tommy has somewhat decided where I want to go with one. I think he's pretty safe, and I know. Okay, I think I'm just going to continue my strategy of best player available. And I'm going to go miscellaneous. I like any 5-piece band I have needs to have 2 guitars. I need to have rhythm and lead. And I feel like I'm going to pick Jimi Hendrix.
Oh,
I'm going with Jimi Hendrix as my second guitar player.
Nice.
I think that, again, just best player available.
Yep.
I don't know how Jimmy and Eddie are going to mesh, but I'm pretty sure it's going to work.
You'll find out.
There's a lot of talent there.
Yeah.
So
they would mesh very well, considering most of Eddie's stuff was blues based and all of Hendrix was. You'd have a really dirty blues band with those two.
that's what I'm saying. So I think we can play a lot of different things here with these. It's not like I can throw out like a punk riff to those two. They'll be able to figure it out.
I feel like Jimmy would just sit. He would pull anyone out of whatever like staunch position they are and just kind of groove and smooth everyone out. He just seemed like that kind of guy.
Yeah. So I think that's a solid lineup so far. Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen on the same stage. Are you kidding me? Who wouldn't pay to see that? All right, now we go back to Tommy.
Dang it. So that kind of ruined my whole my plan. So I might I might just pivot now and just go with the people that I want in my band. I'm going to go guitarist. my family would kill me if I didn't take this pick. And I'm going to take Carlos Santana.
Yep.
Nice.
Because he looks like your dad.
My dad looks like him when he wears a hat, or my dad's hair is too long now. But Santana's been he's been a favorite in our family for a long time. We have a signed Supernatural original artwork on the wall. He's a product of the San Francisco kind of music boom back in the 70s. So a little West Coast vibe too. He just seems like a guy that is more, I mean, he has obviously like the Latin and jazz, Latin rock, a little bit of blues rock in there too. But he seems the guy that does really well with some of the fusion elements and can just like, once he gets into like a little bit of a groove and a little bit of a trance, will just kind of flow and go wherever you need him to. I think there's a linear relationship between like how good of a guitar player you are and how sweaty you can get on the stage. And I've seen some shows of his where those ringlets of his coming out the back of that cholo hat is just just dripping, and I love it. I mentioned this to my family a while back that we were thinking of doing a musician's draft, and my mom just looked and goes, "You're taking Santana," and I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, you're taking Santana.
You're out of the family."
Yeah. So I could not have him on my band, even though he might be a little bit different from some of the other guys in the group. I feel like they would all just love jamming with him.
Yep,
so
for sure. All right, now we go to Tino. So here's what we're gonna do, Tino. You're gonna pick one to end the third, then we'll do our Whoop podium. So Tommy, you can figure out what the Whoop podium is while Tino's picking, and then we'll start the fourth round with your second pick. So you're up, Tino.
All right. So to keep on theme with mine, creating the best R&B album, you need a very strong bass presence for this. But since this project is also going to have some faster pace, like dance stuff, disco stuff, you need a bass player who can do all of that, do a bunch of tempos. And I think the person who will mesh well with the existing group is a bassist named Thundercat. I think I think there's a little bit of recognition there.
Again, no idea who this is.
He is he has these albums called It Is What It Is and Drunk out. And he has such a very distinct sound for a modern bassist that when Thundercat is on a track. And he's done projects with or at least songs with people like Kendrick Lamar, and in those you can hear him kind of take a step back and he'll still have his distinct sound. But I think you need someone like that who can play fast but also play smooth for this type of group. So Thundercat is my
broke through as a part of Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh, well then, good pick.
Yeah. That's how I get Sean on your side. If I throw a little thrash.
So, really interesting guy also. So
he's
a personality.
He's kind of a funk disco, like comes from like royalty. His dad was a drummer for like the Temptations, and like Gladys Knight, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So he has a background.
Yep.
All this, what we're trying to do. So
Got a pedigree for sure.
Lights, Camera, Revolution. Great Suicidal Tendencies album, by the way, way back in the day. All right.
I like that.
Let's take a quick break and get to our Whoop podium. Who are we doing this week for the Whoop podium?
All right. So I got a little bit of a different approach for this one.
All right.
If you notice in Whoop groups, they'll announce your weekly champions. So we're gonna crown our champions from both of our two Whoop groups that we have, depending on which group you landed in when we were organizing. So this week's champions for strain on our Talking Elite Fitness Whoop group: Robert Graham DJ, average strain of 19.6. Hannah Kelsall was the champion of recovery with an average for the week of 93%. H Reeks, Hreakes, the average sleep performance of 100%, just crushing it. And then if we go to our other Talking Elite Fitness Whoop gang, let's see. Actually, that one doesn't have a chat, so I'm gonna just manually go through it. Our weekly champ for the other Talking Elite Fitness Whoop group, if it will actually load. Wow, this is great podcasting.
Stand by for internet.
Yeah, this is not working. All right, we'll go daily. Jamie Haig, 20.3 was her day strain yesterday. 14.4 came from high stress work. So that is impressive. Recovery of the day, Kelly Cave, an HRV of 152, resting heart rate of 42. That's impressive as well. And then Colm Davey was 100% with 8 hours and 19 minutes of sleep. Those are your top 3 people for our alternate Track Elite Fitness Whoop group, the OG group.
OG group, nice.
And then we also have our full-on branded group that has the chat as well. So those are our top performers for this past week.
Tremendous. And if you guys aren't already on the Whoop train, head to whoop.com, use our code TALKING15. You will save 15%. You will optimize the way that you train with daily personalized insights and analytics on strain, recovery, and sleep. With that, let's get back to the draft. Tino Novello just took Thundercat on base.
Yes.
And now you kick off round 4.
Cool. One of the most important parts of the band is, of course, the drummer. And that's one of the few spots I have left. And
I think I could guess where you're going here.
Okay.
I might have
we'll
a
see.
guess. I'm going to put
All
something in my head and see what's
All
there.
Okay.
For this, I think we need someone who is like on theme with the rest of these guys, able to do a bunch of different tempos for this project. So I'm picking Anderson .Paak for my drummer.
Oh, yeah.
So of course of Malibu and
Mhm.
Fame, and most recently Silk Sonic, which
Yep.
I think is a good sort of launching point for what I'm trying to do here. Also a very talented vocalist.
Mhm.
So I think he will be able to keep up with rhythm changes and all the different tempos we're trying to do. And most importantly, the styles we're doing. So
Tino, I think you're
Anderson
just
.Paak.
making up names, honestly.
It kind of sounds like that, right?
I was thinking the same thing. I don't know any of these.
I don't know who
Yeah.
this dude is. All right,
I,
John, I'm glad John and I are on the same page. here.
Fun fact: I have a Anderson .Paak song in our cocktail hour for the wedding. That's
Oh,
our wedding that's
Ooh,
coming
there
up.
we go.
It's his song off of the Shang-Chi
Oh,
movie, Fire in the
nice.
Sky.
Yeah.
Great song.
Yeah.
But yeah, love the pick.
You're up, Tommy.
I feel like I've separated myself from the older guys by
You're the
like,
bridge.
yeah.
You're the bridge here.
I'm the glue guy. Ooh, I'm trying to think. You do. Okay. So I don't need to draft my drummer because everyone else
Yep.
has one. I need. Oh, the front man crushed.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I have a front man for you I can give you.
Is this a trade?
No, I just know the perfect front man for the people you've already picked.
I'm kind of going through my list a little bit. I'm trying to picture all of them playing. I'm curious who you think. You know what? I'm gonna be open. What do you think, Wooley?
I think you should have Freddie Mercury as your vocalist.
That was the front guy on my list, so I'm gonna go with that.
Well, that makes my next decision easy.
Because hold on, let me type that in.
That is a really great pick.
I had the two. Funny enough, these are the two people that I had as my. I was thinking about choosing. It was either Freddie Mercury or Ronnie James Dio.
Ooh, Ronnie James Dio would have been a good one.
Those were I wanted something that at this point that had such a distinct voice that was almost like you couldn't ignore it.
I'm just imagining how much fun Dave Grohl would have with Freddie Mercury.
Oh man, they
Can you
would
imagine? It'd be ridiculous.
all time like colors and outfit presentation with him and Santana too. Santana, a little Latin flair, maybe throw a little of that Queen like purple color tone in. I like that.
Freddie Mercury.
I've always
That's a good one. That
is a good
I've always said if I could be brought back to life with the voice of one person, it would
Oh,
be his.
that guy,
Because
there's no doubt. The guy, yeah.
you hear it and you know it's him. There's very few singers like that.
Didn't they have replaced him? Like they still tour with somebody, right?
I've seen
And apparently he sounds pretty
very
close.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, for Queen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is it? I may be mixing things up, but I may be mixing things up with a very good Queen cover band. But there's a Filipino singer that can basically do Freddie Mercury perfectly.
Wow. That's incredible.
I'm trying to think.
It's the American Idol guy, right? Or am I thinking?
Oh, they did have Adam Lambert.
Yeah.
Is that him? Or are they doing something?
They had Adam Lambert forever. The Filipino
Yeah.
kid you're thinking of does Journey.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's another iconic voice. All right. So now it's to me. And Tommy has made my last two decisions for me. And even before, so there was a debate. I had a debate between the bass player thing, because this is going with someone like Cliff Burton, who is an icon, or going with the guy that made me pick up the bass guitar, made me play the way I want to play, was my hero in high school. I worship this guy. I still, when I see him on stage with the people that he was on stage with, I'm like, yeah, that looks right. That's the way it should look. So I'm going to take Jason Newsted. And Jason Newsted was the guy who replaced Cliff Burton. My Metallica fandom started shortly after Cliff Burton passed away. And then my musician, I'll put that in quotes, my musical sort of endeavors started when Jason Newsted was the bass player. And I was a huge Metallica fan as a kid. I watched Jason Newsted all the time. I still watch him. It's the reason I play bass with a pick. I can still sometimes play better with my fingers, but I use a pick because I want to stay true to Jason Newsted. He was also in a band called Echo Brain. He's been with Voivod. I played bass for Ozzy Osbourne. He was in a band called Flotsam and Jetsam before he was hired by Metallica. And I've like I said, I've been learning to try to play a lot of Metallica songs. It was my goal to learn their whole 1989 Seattle set list from their and Justice for All special edition. I'm six into, I have 6 down. I got like 12 to go. Anyway, I've done a lot of like listening to different things. And if you can go on YouTube and you can hear, because unfortunately in Justice for All, the first album that he was on, they turned the bass way down. You can't hear it. And there's a lot of stuff where people have remixed it so you can hear it. But there is a track where you can hear him play Blackened just by himself. And it's incredible. So I love that guy. He plays a lot of different styles of music. I got to actually meet him one time in Jacksonville, Florida, when Echo Brain played. Got my picture with him. Would love to meet him again. But that's my bass playing hero. So I'm going to stay true to my heart. I'm going Jason Newsted, and that gives us now the end of the 4th round. Is John, you're up with your final 2 picks.
Final 2 picks. All right. And I had a lot of strategy here. So you need a tight rhythm section. And when I picked my drummer, I had narrowed it down to John Bonham and Stuart Copeland. I went with Stuart because I just, my only real experience with Bonham was obviously Zeppelin, and which is pretty damn good experience, I might add. So, no slight to him whatsoever. But I was a bigger Police fan. So,
what was your favorite Police album?
But with that said, you need somebody that can do alternate time signatures. You have to be super tight with the drummer. Someone's got experience doing that. And I went back to the Zeppelin well, went with John Paul Jones.
Nice. What was your favorite Police album?
God, that's a good question. Synchronicity, probably. I loved kind of everything they did, if I'm being honest. Like, and I've seen Sting on tour 2 or 3 times. Like, I just seen them. Sting was just brilliant, and he was on my list for bassist. And when you look at Sting, you're like, all right, he plays great bass, he can hold it with the rhythm section, and he could sing. But ultimately, I wanted somebody whose main thing was bass. I got enough singers in this band as it is.
Okay, so. Well, now the only thing left is you have miscellaneous, so you get to round out your 5 somehow.
My miscellaneous is my all-time hero, and I think will make this band very interesting. Can play guitar, piano, amazing singer. It's going to bring swag. Prince.
Oh, his purpleness. Oh, that is a solid pick. John Wooley. That is, wow. What value getting his purpleness in the final round. Unbelievable. Okay. Good stuff, man. That's a solid lineup. I did not see Prince.
I would give my right arm to see Chris Cornell, John Mayer, and Prince playing on the same stage.
This is another thing. I'm not a huge fan of Prince, but I respect the guy as a musician and a performer. Like, there were very few people that had the presence and the ability in one package that he did.
Yeah, he was. I hate to say he was an underrated guitar player, but he's never on the list of top guitar players, but he should have been. The guy was a ridiculous guitar player.
For sure.
He has, the word is that there's an entire vault of albums this guy recorded that have never been released, like 10 years worth of albums that they could release.
They gotta get that stuff out there.
Like the stuff that he just threw away, most people would be their greatest hits.
100%. 100%.
Well, his work ethic was also super
brilliant musician,
which is like he'd have rehearsal after rehearsal too.
Yep.
I never stopped.
Apparently quite the basketball player too.
Apparently. Game. Blouses.
Okay, I get to close things out now. And Tommy, you took my guy because I wasn't thinking about old Freddie Mercury, but as I sort of started thinking best player available, I was like, well, you got to go with him. So I'm going to go back to my original thing, and that's for the second straight pick. I'm going to go with my heart. Someone that I love. I'm going to get. I think this is a sleeper pick. If you might not many people are going to know who this is, but you should. I'll tell you why. So I'm going to go with a guy by the name of John Bush. Now, John Bush is the front man right now of Armored Saint. He also was the lead singer of Anthrax after Joey Belladonna.
Oh, yeah.
But in the 80s, when Metallica was really starting to take off, they considered finding a pure frontman and letting James Hetfield just concentrate on guitar. And they got very close to hiring John Bush as their frontman. His voice is just like a lion. He's got this growl, he can sing all kinds of different, paces and tones, and just it's just like a lion roaring at you. And I love his voice. I was one of the few people who thought he was better than Joey Belladonna with Anthrax. I still prefer his sound to that. And there's a video on YouTube when Metallica did their 30th anniversary show. I think it was at the Fillmore in San Francisco. They brought John Bush up on stage to sing the Four Horsemen with him. And I'm like, oh man, why couldn't this have happened? So John Bush is my guy. Love that dude. Sleeper pick. Do a little research before you vote.
Okay.
Just learn a little bit about him. So, all right, Tommy, you're up.
This is tough. All I have is drums left. I could go with the John Bonham role, but there's someone else that I think would actually be a cool kind of blend of all of this, particularly with his affinity for like Afrobeat and African music. And I think that's Ginger Baker. So Peter Baker, who's the drummer for Cream. He's someone that both Bonham and I believe Keith Moon pulled some inspiration from. And he is a guy that, I mean, he's been in a ton of bands that a lot of people wouldn't recognize, and he had kind of a tumultuous life.
Most talented, artists do.
Yeah, and including a very interesting relationship with bassist Jack Bruce. He actually attacked him with a knife once on stage during a concert. But usually that level of passion will translate into beating the sticks a little bit. So I'm gonna go with Ginger Baker. I think he's maybe a step below in terms of like name notoriety and some of the other guys, Neil Peart, Keith Moon, John Bonham, those guys during that era. But he definitely has kind of a wider array of some musical influences that I think will help blend like maybe some of the Latin and jazz stuff from Santana, some of the hard rock stuff coming from across the aisle, and then maybe some of the uniqueness that Freddie Mercury brings to the table as well. So,
okay. So with that, Tino,
yes,
you get to close us out. What do you need? You need a miscellaneous. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm going to take use that in the form of a producer, someone who can tie this all together.
Interesting.
But who can also provide.
Oh no, I know where this is going.
Who can also provide additional production to.
You wanted to bring Dan in to make this?
Yeah. Oh, no, Mr. Dan will be very happy with this album once it's done. He actually comes to me all the time for music recommendations, and I think with this, he'll have his fill. But it's a little bit different this time. Okay. I am taking Thomas Bangalter.
From Daft Punk. Yeah.
You listen to all those albums. It has what I need. It like early Daft Punk is straight up house music. You have like Homework and stuff where that's just basically French club stuff going on. Then you fast forward to their unfortunate final album, their Random Access Memories, where it is disco, dance, R&B, all this stuff wrapped in one. And I think he's the person who can tie this all together, do additional production, and just make this a super solid album. So final pick, Thomas Bangalter.
All right.
Oh, I absolutely love that pick.
Nice job, man.
Yeah, putting a bow on it,
Man, that I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah,
That
was
is
good.
fantastic.
That's way to go.
there you
Way to
go.
go. All right, Tommy, you want to summarize what we have here?
Yes.
I got it too. You want me to do it?
I can pull it up.
I got it right here. I'll do
Okay.
it. Okay. So John, you have John Mayer as your guitar player, Chris Cornell as your singer, Stuart Copeland from the Police as your drummer, John Paul Jones is your bass player. And then, I mean, I think probably the value pick of the draft gets Prince
Yeah.
to sprinkle on there with his final pick. I went with Eddie Van Halen for my guitar player, Neil Peart as my drummer, Jimi Hendrix as my miscellaneous, because I like to have 2 guitar players, Jason Newsted, my all-time favorite bass player, and then John Bush as my singer. There was another guy that I almost put in there that I'll talk about in a second. Tommy's got Dave Grohl as his miscellaneous right off the bat. He stole Cliff Burton from me as his bass player, Carlos Santana guitar, Freddie Mercury as vocals. It's a strong lineup, and Peter Baker as his drummer. Tino, a bunch of people I've never heard of, but hey, I'm sure you guys out there probably have. Frank Ocean vocals, Curtis Mayfield on guitar, Thundercat on bass, Anderson Paak is his singer, and I just wrote Thomas B.
On drums.
Oh, sorry, Anderson Paak on drums.
Mhm.
Okay, my fault. I wrote that down wrong. Yeah, don't know what any of these people are.
And Thomas Bangalter, one half of Daft Punk.
That's a good one. All right. We will have a post on social media when this episode goes up. You can vote in the comments. That is the only place where you can vote, where votes will count. Vote for who you think won. Tino representing the production assistants, Tommy, me, or John. John, what do you got coming up here soon with all the projects that you're working on?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is go research all these people Tino was talking about.
Have a good time.
Like not a one.
John and I are going to do that together and then yell at people to get off our lawn. It's going to be great.
I know. It's like old man yells at cloud. That's what it's like over here. Not much. We got a bunch of people coming on the show. I mean, Kettlebells and Cocktails is always busy. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up there. We got Emily Roth tomorrow night, so that'll be fun.
Nice. Yeah, we
Nice.
talked to her recently too. She's great.
Yeah, she's awesome. So just a lot of that, and just gonna keep doing bad CrossFitting like everybody else.
Well, okay. So we were talking. We'll get to our people that we left off here in a second, but we were talking before we came on, and you have made the decision to undertake a little fitness challenge in January, right?
Oh, it's so dumb. So dumb. I already regret it. No, I'm gonna do the gauntlet at Wadapalooza. It's
awesome.
So close to the Open. I got really close last year in the Open to actually qualifying for quarterfinals. And I'm like,
really?
Actually,
Nice.
Yeah, I finished like,
wow, you're a lot fitter than me.
I want to say I finished in the 87th or 88th percentile. So I
Good
just
for
missed
you,
it.
man.
Just missed it. And so I'm like, all right, well, I need, if I'm gonna prepare for the Open, I need some time ahead. And Wadapalooza hit second week of January, Opens a few weeks after that. So it's kind of a natural progression. So I'm adding in the volume to try to do that hour's worth of foolishness. It's tough. It's killing me. I'm old. This is hard.
You take
So
those
hard.
recovery days seriously, man. Well, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be back down there. Last year was the first time that I got to go to Wadapalooza, and I thought it was awesome. So we will be sure to come out and support you.
Yeah, I was like, I might, if you know what heat you're gonna go on, if I can request that, I'll go out there and throw down with you.
Let's do it. Let's all do it together. It'd be fun.
Yeah, maybe I should jump in there and pretend, see if they get me mixed up with John, and then people think I'm actually good.
And then lane 4,
I think
and
that's
6,
yeah.
2 bald white guys.
Yeah, there you go. Who did you have anybody on your list, John, that you left off here that you're like, I could have drafted this guy, but I didn't.
Well, nobody for my, like, I got everybody I wanted. I had some for you guys. I thought Tommy, I thought he missed on the drummer. I mean, his drummer's great. None of these people are bad musicians. I wanted to see Questlove.
That was the other guy on my list.
Oh, really?
Damn it. Yeah.
Okay.
Questlove is my other
Yeah,
guy
he's
from
good.
the Roots.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he would have been a great compliment to the ones he had. And then on your team, Sean, for vocals, I would have had Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, that would have been.
Ooh.
Yeah, John Bush and Eddie Vedder have a similar sound, actually. The other guy I was thinking of was Bruce Dickinson,
Yeah,
from Iron Maiden.
Bruce
One of the
Dickinson.
most dynamic frontmen. Like, still, I don't know. That guy's got to be in his late 60s, and he's out there crushing. All the bands I listen to, they're all old now, like old.
yeah. And then on the other band, I would have just gotten a White Pages and just picked a name because that's what they all
Yeah.
Gen Z versus Gen X here. That's what we got. But All right. Well, John, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. If you're not following John, you can find him at Make Wods Great Again. And then you have, don't you have Constantly Varied Kindness as well? Isn't that another
Yeah,
one?
constantly very kindness.
Which is great. I love what you're doing with that, by the way. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And obviously kettlebells and cocktails, and then Scale and Bale every Monday with Ben Jaworski.
Nice.
Epic.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to do this. It was a lot of fun. Good luck in the vote. We will let you know how it turns out. And again, check John out. Make Wods Great Again. Scale and Bale and kettlebells and cocktails. John, thanks so much. Tino, nice job representing the production assistants. We'll see how I think you've got the Gen Z vote locked up.
Hopefully.
Tommy stole my pick. So we'll see how this one turns out. Thanks for listening, everybody. For Tino Novello, Tommy Marquez, John Wooley, I'm Sean Woodland. Take care of each other, be better, and we will talk to you next time.